Okay, now let's look at some of the places you'll be visiting on the program because Cuba is amazingly beautiful. And we'll look at those photos while we chat with Jason from API.
So API has been, as an organization, around for over 20 years, and we've been operating programs in Cuba since 2012. Since that time, we've operated more than 60 different faculty-led programs of this nature, including probably about 5 or 6 in a given section of time, so a spring break or a winter each year for the past several years. We also were the first education organization allowed back into Cuba once the opportunity opened up. So we have some really, really great connections. And in addition to the short-term programs like this, we also operate semester, summer, and interim sessions through our partner universities in Havana and also in Santa Clara, Cuba. So we've got lots of time and experience in the country. So I've personally been a part of 5 different programs in Cuba that have all had a different focus. So it might be Spanish language and Cuban culture. I've done business programs, US-Cuban relation programs, as well as healthcare focused programs. So while their activities are a little bit different on each of those different programs, the thing that really stands out as being the most meaningful or having the most impact is the interaction that the US students have with the Cuban people. So in all of our programs, the way that it works is we design activities that are not just observational. Some of them are, but a lot of them are very interactive. And you really get a chance to talk with and to meet and to experience firsthand the Cuban people and to meet them. So there's a lot of different activities that you're seeing in these pictures here that are kind of the standard, if you will, things you have to see while you're in Cuba. And it's just, every time you turn around, it's a really unique experience. And I think one of the biggest impacts that students say, and the things that I've heard them say more than often than not, is how resilient the Cuban people are and how interesting it is to see them be able to adapt without having access to the same kinds of facilities that we have here or the same kinds of supplies and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily a single activity per se, but rather just a general feeling of being in awe of what the Cuban people have been able to accomplish. That being said, there is one particular excursion which is built into the program to a trip to Las Terrazas, which is a biosphere community outside of Havana, which is absolutely a favorite. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. There's typically time for being outside in nature, and you get to experience some of the beautiful countryside of the country as well, in addition to the city of Havana. The role of API starts really at the very beginning. So in addition to the program development side of it, once we have everything set and all the details arranged, we actually start working with you and start being part of the program as a true member of the program in the US. So what happens is a US staff member, in this case, hopefully myself, but someone from API that's based in the US will actually travel with the group or travel with the students to Havana. So we facilitate the visa process and make sure that they're all good to go and that international component of the travel. So we start here and travel with you there. And then literally we're with you every moment of the program from the beginning to the end. So what we do is help you navigate the immigration process and get your luggage and get you on the buses. And we've arranged all of the logistics and everything of that nature. So we serve as a source of emergency support and services throughout the entire program. We have 24/7 availability. So in addition to the US staff member that travels with you, we have our full-time resident director in Cuba, Emily. Emily's actually an American who's been in Cuba for a number of years. She studied abroad there and fell in love with the country. So she's been living there as an expat for quite some time. But she's also there to add an additional level of support. And then per Cuban law, we actually have a Cuban guide with us the entire time as well. So we have our API guide that's with you, the program leader, a Cuban guide that helps us understand and serves as a translator. And then we also have our full-time resident director. So you've got lots and lots of service and support. Our role is to help be a bridge between what you're learning and the logistics of the program, and also answer any questions, deal with emergencies. If you get sick and need to go to the hospital or to the doctor, we're there to help you with that. If you're having cultural adjustment issues or you don't understand something, we will do our best to help mitigate those sorts of things. And then one thing we always talk about Cuba in particular is that things can change on a very frequent basis. It's not always planned. Everything doesn't happen exactly as it's planned. So we're there to help make that transition as easy as possible and to mitigate all of those issues. So really everything that we are, we become a part of the program. We attend the lectures and do all the visits and trips with you. And so from my perspective, that's one of my favorite aspects, is that I get to learn so much from the faculty members and from the students that participate in these programs, but then also help you while you're in the country. Additionally, we set up all of your housing for you too, and so we're there with you. We don't actually stay with you, but we're right there next to you, so we're able to help in any situation. But basically, we are a source of support and help and emergency services, and really, really are there to help make the program as exceptional as we possibly can. One of my favorite parts about Cuba is that when our students come there, we live in what are called casas particulares, or kind of like they're like a private home that serves as a residence hall for your group, basically. So these are private homes in the Vedado part of Havana, which is the university district. So you're very close to the actual University of Havana. So it's a really cool part of the city. There's also the really famous hotel, the Hotel Nacional, which is this iconic view of Cuba looking over the Malecon, which is the seawall that runs along the shore. But anyway, the houses themselves are owned by Cuban families, and you live in either double, triple, or quad rooms, depending on the number of participants and the actual layout of the residencia. But you'll share those rooms with the other students on your program, and it'll typically just be your group in the one house, sometimes two, depending again on the size. In this house, you will have a Cuban family, as well as certain staff members too. So many of them, some of them are individuals, like a couple or a small family, and then they'll cook your food for you. They'll clean your rooms for you, do your laundry for you. So it's kind of like living with a host family, but you're with the group of other students that are with your program as well. So it's one kind of big group home, if you will, for the program. The neighborhood of Vedado is one of my absolute favorites in the city of Havana, because it's where there's a lot of great nightlife, there's a lot of great cafes and jazz clubs and parks, and it's super easy to walk around. Havana and Cuba in general is very, very safe. And so we'll talk a lot about that in the pre-departure orientation, as well as once you're on site. But it's a great neighborhood for walking, and there's lots of different opportunities for you to meet local people. There's a famous ice cream shop called Copelia that's really nearby. So it's just an amazingly cool place. And one thing that we encourage is for you to interact with your hosts as much as you can. So talking with them and asking them questions. They love having American students visit and sharing their culture, and they're opening their homes to the students. One thing that kind of takes students by surprise sometimes is that there's not a lot of new things in Cuba, especially in the homes. So a lot of the homes they're very proud of the homes, but they've things that have been in their homes forever. So the items in the home might seem very antiquish, and that's part of the culture of Cuba, is that these homes have been in their families and passed down for years, and they haven't necessarily had access to brand new things for a time. So there's a lot of history, and that's one of my favorite parts, is asking, well, where did this come from, or what's this about, or what? And there's usually always a story attached to those things.
That's wonderful to be able to have that kind of unique insight into a family right in Cuba. And I'm imagining all the wonderful homemade food too.
Yes, the food is amazing. It's one, and that's amazing too. One of the cool things about Cuba is that they cook with what they have. So it's not like you don't necessarily have the same variety of options, but it's always fresh, and it's always so good because it's whatever they were able to get that day. So there's vegetables and rice. I mean, there's the staples of rice and beans and things like that, but it's so wonderful. And there's access to, there's safety. There are 24-hour security people at all these homes as well. You have safes in the rooms where you can put your belongings. And then there's access to clean drinking water the whole time you're there. So the safety is obviously a very important part. And we actually call it the API Village. So we have a number of residencias that we work with, that we've been working with for years. And we know all the families, we know them and their children sometimes. And it's literally a community, a whole community that we have. And it's one of the best parts about the program.
Well, we're about out of time, but Dr. Newsom, I wanted to come back to you to wrap up. I'd ask, what aspect of the program are you most looking forward to?
Wow, that's hard to pinpoint, but I can say one of the things that's most interested me about the program in and of itself is just the different ways in which we will experience the culture. And you talked about the food, Andrea, and that's something that I'm excited about as well. And just being a part of a culture that is all around us and being able to participate in it and for us to learn from the people who live in that culture is really exciting to me. And I think that it would provide an experience for the student that is, I don't know, it's kind of priceless when it comes to being able to have material that is right there in your face, and you have to adapt and you have to learn how to not necessarily fit in, but be respectful of another culture. And so I think a part of it is the places that we're going to go, the people that we will encounter, and the ways in which the students will have to learn in the moment how to be respectful of different cultures and a culture that they may not have ever experienced before. So I hope that answered your question.
It does. Thank you very much. Yes, this was great. Thank you so much, Dr. Newsome and Jason, and all of you viewers for joining us. Please, to learn more, you can go to our website to apply, and that's uwstout.edu/study abroad.